Alan Lopresti here. Today I'm going to talk about Superior Drummer 3, and I'm going to go through the mixer window. And I'm going to get started right into this. Let's first say I'm not sponsored by Toontrack. I'm doing this all on my own. All right. I've got this Legacy of Rock drum kit, and I'm going to go with the default setting. I'm not going to get into this window, which is the actual first screen that you open up. It's got your drum sounds and some of the articulations and how you can change the hits. I'm going to get right to the mixer window. But first, we got to just grab some grooves. Let's go with, that's good. I want to grab a fill. Sound something with toms. That's a good one. Let's, now it's looped. Perfect. Okay, mixer window. Let's first go through the basics, which is you've got your outputs right here. Okay, well, clearly it's got the name. But then you've got your outputs. Right now, everything is set to this one output. It's summing to the output 1 and 2. You've got your faders and the panning. Okay, I'm going to leave everything default, which came up with this default kit. Bus sends, effects, and this bleed level, and I'll get into this a little bit more in a few minutes. But let's start out by saying, here's the stock kit. It's not bad. And I'm going to just bring this down a little bit. This might be a little hot in the mix. Okay, first thing I like to do is I typically, with most drums, I mimic what I do with mixing real drums, and that's I set up a parallel bus compression. And what I'll do is I'm going to grab every channel that's ringing out here, and looks like this one is. So let's go bus 1, and I'll set it to post fader. All right. You can do pre-fader. I'm going to send post-fader for this example. Let's turn that down. And then I've got all these here, so let's just go ahead and do that. I'm not using examples and grab that easily, going, especially going to last forever when you get it. And I don't change any of the volumes with these, I just set them. Post-fader full on. I think this got it. Okay. So if we were to solo this, right now, whatever you've set here is actually parallel. That's why it's called parallel bus compression. It's an exact duplicate, but you've sent it through just a single bus. You're not attenuating any of the signal. Now the cool thing about doing it this way is you could start shaping the overall drum kit and almost make it seem like it's living in a different room. And that's what I'm trying to do with this. The first thing I like to do is I like to grab some type of limiter or a compressor if it's really fast. But in this case, and I found this, we're going to go to the effects. I found this, and I was very surprised. It's a limiter pedal. This thing does a fantastic job, and let's just take a listen to it. I've got that soloed. All right, so let's turn it off. It's like already you could hear it's starting to just squish the drums. I'm going to leave this at -10, but I'm going to turn the attack time up. And I'll turn that all the way up. Pretty drastic, right? And that's exactly what I want. Now let's turn this down and let's blend it in. What's interesting is the hi-hat. The hi-hat is really getting pushed in the mix up quite a bit, and that's pretty typical. So this is how we're going to deal with that. My guess is the hi-hat, if I change these settings here, it's not going to have much of an effect. My feeling is it's in a bleed because this default kit, every microphone for the most part, in the room and the overheads, has every instrument bleeding into it. So let's just highlight the overhead and let's solo it, okay? And let's listen to how much hi-hat is in here. It's quite a bit. So this is how you get rid of it. Over here, which is this right here, you can go to Show Properties, or you can come over here and Show Properties. Watch what happens. See? Hi-hat's gone. In reality, you don't want to take out the hi-hat. You want to leave the hi-hat in, but you can just turn it down. All right. Now, let's take a listen to... You can see... So that's really helping to okay, I'm happy with that. So here's your basic, your default kit. I've got a parallel bus compressor set up. Now let's say you want to add reverb to the snare and the toms only. Set up another bus. Go bus 2. And again, leave it post fader. Leave these full on for now. We're going to solo the bus 2, which is now going to be our reverb. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put an EQ on it. I'm going to go EQ. I'm going to set a shelf. Let's go 12. Let's turn the Q down a little bit. I'm going to start it someplace out here. I just want to get rid of the low rumble, and let's listen. I think that'll work. And now let's grab, I'll just start with a plate reverb. I like to work in starting with their defaults. It gets you 80% there, so let's go with Locker Room. Let's listen. All right, I want more. Okay. I recommend leaving the wet and out 100%. Leave it, like this. And use your fader here to dictate how much reverb you want. So let's take the solo off. Let's bring it in. All right, now let's just loop that. Let's say that let's say you like the reverb on the toms, but you want less on the snare. The best way to deal with that is to come back over here and dial it out here. So let's play it. You got to open up all three. So what I did is I'm sending less signal from the snares, and I got 3 channels of snares, into the reverb, but I'm leaving the toms full on. And that will get you, and that's pretty typical where you're, or, what you could even do is you could set up 2 reverbs. You could set bus 2 to this reverb, set bus 3 to a separate reverb for toms. You can do that. For this example, I'm just going to create 1 reverb and go there. Okay, last trick. Now that you've got your parallel bus set up, you got a reverb set up that you can adjust. Some of the cool things you can do on the master out is I like to start with this EQ 84. And again, I'm going to grab a stock Clarify. I'm going to zero out the mids here. That's the only thing and actually I want to start this at 45. The theory behind this is I'm not going to do any high cutting. I want to be able to use a combination of boosting my low end here, but cutting it at the same time here by filtering it, and adding some high frequency back in. So this is what it sounds like. Now let's bring this in. Right? Kind of a lo-fi. Right? You can really change how you dial in the mids too. You can take some of the boxiness out of it. You can add some more kick drum. Probably need to change that. All right. You can hear that kick drum just starting to ring. And that's why you can use this. See that? Now you can cut some of the low end out. So it's a combination, right? I'm going to boost around 60. And then cut. You don't have to do this. You could turn these off. Let it. Right? It's a subtle effect. Very subtle. And depending on your speakers, you may not be able to hear what I'm trying to do with this. The next thing I like to add this distortion tape simulator. Start with clean master. And listen to what this does. Subtle, but it adds some bite to your drum kit. You may have to adjust this. All right, let's grab something with a cymbal in it. Let's grab. All right, let's turn everything off so you can hear what I've done. Actually, let's just mute. All right, let's go back to this groove. I know when I'm mixing real drums, I will use various plugins to mimic what's already inside of Superior Drummer. That's the part that really helps me getting a quick drum sound and actually save it as a preset. Is the interface, this mixer interface is actually very good if you don't have a lot of plugins that can mimic like an 1176 or a fast limiter, or if you tape emulation. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is, let's say you want to do something specifically to a kick or a snare. I'll use that as the example. You can do it two ways. I know that in these examples, I've got 3 channels of kick, 3 channels of snare. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bus my 3 kicks to one output, just so we can use this example. So what you can do is you could do an EQ, right? Let's just do this type of EQ first. And let's solo it. So you can see, if you're trying to, you know, thin out a kick, or make, let's say you want to make the more top end, right? And let's do a shelf on this one. All right. The other thing that I like to do on a kick is I like to add, you know, if I want to add a little bit more snap to it, we'll grab this 76. Well, there's some pretty good presets. This Firm kit is a good place to start. The key thing to remember is that when you pick a preset, it's going to default a few things that will help you dial it in faster. So let's hit the... All right, I'm going to go for a little less than that. What I want is a little bit more attack. And this is just to control the overall kick, right? So that's just room sound. And I highly recommend using buses, especially for the kick and snare. When you're trying to mix something in a session, using Superior Drummer, if they've given you multiple microphones on a kick and a snare, instead of you grabbing each of these, you just need to grab one fader. So you could do the same thing with, we can go bus 4, and let's go ahead and solo that out. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add this. And let's default with snare attack. You can hear what it does. So it really squeezes it, all right? So it gives you the ability to, especially with kick and snare and most rock and roll songs, most songs in general, but rock and roll specifically, the kick and snare is what you're trying to establish in the mix. And this gives you the greatest flexibility by bussing, or, you know, maybe in this case you may not want to include the bottom snare or this condenser on the kick. It's really what you feel gives you the best control in dialing in your drum sound. For me, it just depends on the song, but I always have a parallel bus. I've always got a reverb. I've always got the kick and the snare, and then the rest of it I just dial in this part of the window. As far as on the output, sometimes I do this, sometimes I leave these turned off, and I'll use an external plug-in. It just all depends on what sound I'm going for. But if you're trying to keep it inside the box, this is the best way to do it. You just have to think between the buses, whether you want to send something and have it become a parallel feature, or if you want it to become an output, so it becomes the actual feature that's going out of the 2-track versus a parallel or a send. And then up here in the effects, you can definitely put your EQs up here, your compressors up here, whatever you want. You can do it here, or you can bust them together and do them all at once over here. All right, I hope this was helpful. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them, in the comments section of this YouTube video. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, and you'd like more, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Again, Al Lopresti from AJL Soundwave, and have a great day and stay safe.